Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Hi Devashi and Anurag. Really excited to start this conversation. We thought that each week we will discuss each chapter of the book. So, this is week two, but chapter one, which is called Schools as a Complex System. And we can maybe like go into some of the nuances that Devashi talked about in the chapter and maybe like build on some of those aspects as well. I really enjoyed reading this. I think it's so important to have this lens of like a complex system to understand and decode the education system. But maybe Devashi, you can start off with talking to us a little bit about one is what is a system, right? Because I think when anyone says that learning, the school system is a complex system, people obviously do agree. But I think there's a lot of nuance about what you mean by complex system and what you mean by a chaotic system as well. That I think we can like create that shared understanding of and then talk a little bit more about that in detail.
Um, am I audible?
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, okay. A system is a group of interacting or interrelated entities that actually form a unified whole. Traditionally, the concept of systems was limited to the physical sciences. For example, the realms of thermodynamics. However, an Australian biologist, Ludwig von Bartholomä, developed what is known as the general systems theory and opened this concept to social sciences. At this point, we should remember that social systems can be open systems or systems that interact with the environment, or closed, that is, which don't. A complex system is one where a large number of components and processes interact to produce what is known as an emergent behavior. And the outcome of all these processes and the interactions are nonlinear. When I say nonlinear, I mean the outputs do not vary proportionally to the inputs. A student doubling his study hours does not necessarily score twice the marks in tests. Uh, Complex systems have some properties. Complex systems are robust. If you take an element out of a complex system, it does not collapse. You could take the example of a clock and a beehive. If you take an element out of a clock, it will have an immediate system collapse. It will stop working. However, if you take even the queen bee out of a hive, it does not collapse. Similarly, if you take the founder out of the school, it does not collapse. There are schools running even after the founder has passed away 100 years ago. Complex systems contain the right balance of order and disorder, and if you somehow tilt that balance, the system has a collapse. So you have that happy disorder of lunchtime games in schools, and it's brought to order when the bell rings for the classes to begin. Now, if the bell rings and the children don't come back to classes, the system collapses. That's how it works. Complex systems, as we said last time when we were talking, and you were very interested in it. Complex systems never reach equilibrium, and thus they are managed through feedback loops. Because they don't reach equilibrium, you never have the best school, or the best teacher, or the best student, or even the best education system. When we talk about chaotic systems are a part of complex systems. They are a type of complex systems, and this was made popular by an MIT meteorologist named Edward Lorenz, who had coined the term butterfly effect. Can the flappings of the wings of a butterfly in Brazil cause a tornado in Florida? What this means is that small changes in one part of a system can cause massive changes elsewhere. Technically, this is known as sensitivity to initial conditions. Schools are chaotic systems, and small, seemingly irrelevant or imperceptible changes in one area of a child's life can cause life altering changes elsewhere. That is why schools are such emotionally fragile institutions. I always describe them as emotionally fragile institutions, and they need to be handled with extreme care. Now, complex and chaotic systems are inherently unpredictable. Now, the outcomes of such systems cannot be predicted. Even though we try to conveniently predict school outcomes for individual students, such predictions are fallacies. Now, when I say they are unpredictable, I don't mean they are random. A random system would be something like a lottery, where if you know the numbers of all the lotteries that had won the first prize for the last 20 years, and you place them in a regression model, you will never be able to predict the number for the next year's lottery. So that is a random system. Now, complex systems, the chaotic systems are not random. They are deterministic in nature. And deterministic systems are systems where the output is determined by a chain of unbroken events. It's just that by a chain of unbroken events, it's just that you wouldn't be able to predict the final outcome. School systems are thus often described as deterministic chaotic systems.
and i and I do think you touch upon the book, and even behavior science really talks about this idea, right, that we move away from uncertainty, we try to make sense of the world around us. And you specifically talk a little bit about how different actors are trying to like make sense or reduce almost the entire system in something that's consumable, right? And I like the example you give about parents, right? Because parents are almost like, I find a good school for my children, I put them in, and it's almost like a parent is assured that at the end of it, these like kids that go in will come out as, educated children of the world. But that itself is opposite to this idea of like chaos in the system, right? Where it's unpredictable, even though it's a deterministic system. But again, our individual need for predictability kind of makes us see the system as such and makes us believe that it's actually a linear system when it is not. And can you talk a little bit about like what happens when you're looking at this complex system as a very linear system and what that actually does? And I feel like it also, and you mentioned also, and we talked about this, it kind of fuels the status quo of what's happening right now.
Yes, we as humans, I think, hardwired to look at predictability, and our view of the universe comes from Newtonian, what is described as Newtonian predictability. Unless we can predict an outcome, we feel a bit insecure. I think that is inherently where we have gone wrong in assessing school systems. And what has resulted is a factory model of education where you are sending a raw input into a school at say 3 or 4 years of age, and an output oblique product comes out say 12, 13 years later. And schools actually call these students products. I mean, if you hear heads of schools speak, they say that is a product of our school. And actually, no, when you talk about product, you're talking about a mechanistic inorganic substance, not a living human being. And this process that goes through in this 12 and 13 years is supposed to turn this child into an erudite, well-mannered, and all the right adjectives you can add there, human being. It doesn't always happen that way. And that is where we have inherently gone wrong with the system. And that is where, as you had very rightly put the other day, uh, the only parameter of judgment at this point of time in schools, especially in South Asia, is the marks that a child scores in a standardized examination, because that is the easiest and the seemingly most objective method of assessing how the school has performed rather than the child has performed. Now, the school, if the child performs well, the school takes responsibility. If the child does not perform that well and up to the expectation, then either the child has one of the two parameters wrong, intelligence or hard work, and it's entirely the child's fault. So you shift the blame there. That is that is what was schooling about 150 years ago. Unfortunately, we haven't shifted too far away from that even now.
Yeah. And I think it talks back to that linear thinking that we do have in schools. I think even Jafar is saying that it is to imbibe like different types of skills that we're not doing, right? We only think that success is equal to just these two factors. And again, it's so ingrained in us, right? So even how much ever I read, I still in my head think that, oh, the more I study, the better I will do. Because it comes from a place of like very lived, real experiences and strong mental models come up over decades. And even Debachi was telling you, like even when we did work in the school system, trying to understand from parents or from school administrators, from kids itself, everyone believes that, they're doing a lot. There's a lot of emotional stability in the system because they believe that, I'm studying, I'm doing, but it's not working, right? It's almost feeding in the status quo of what's happening, and people believe that this is it and this is all it can be. So why are we thinking about these different models?
That again goes into this human tendency of status quo. I mean, we don't want change because we are comfortable with what is around us. And over the years, since schools have been around for almost a century and a half, maybe 200 years, uh, we have been uh, we have been attuned to think of school education in a particular way, and we tend to think that that is the only way possible, like classes, standardized subjects, pre-packaged curriculum, and you cannot have something beyond that. And that is, I think, which is preventing us from thinking parallelly, uh, to develop alternate school models.
Yeah. And I think one point that I want to kind of pick up, right? And I think everyone will be trying to understand is you speak in the book a little bit about on this chapter about what is the kind of feedback that is required given an acceptance and understanding of the school as a complex system, right? So can you talk a little bit about what are the kind of feedback loops that are necessary?
See, if it's not a complex system, if it's a linear system, then you have a certain variables and you can optimize those variables to reach an intended outcome. What happens when a system does not reach a variable per se? That is when the system has to be managed through what is known as feedback loops. The system will constantly give feedback to the manager. Now, these systems and the managers have to be perceptible to that feedback. Now, take the healthcare industry, for example. The healthcare system is also uh, a complex system, and the healthcare system is also often chaotic in nature. However, the healthcare system presents an
Devashi, do you want to
option.
extend the conversation? Otherwise the
Is
option will
it
disappear.
Is that possible? I don't know. I don't have an option. I think I discarded that. Anyway, I think
Okay.
I'll finish this. Okay. Uh, so the problem occurs when a system. So I was talking about the healthcare system. The healthcare system also presents feedback, but the feedback is tangible and objective. See, suppose a patient is administered an injection, the patient will present a feedback. Either he gets better over time or he gets worse physically, and you have that feedback to continue that medicine or not. However, in school, students are hurt mentally and sometimes even physically, and they don't present with an overt and tangible feedback. One, because at times the system has blocked the feedback mechanism because of fear, no answering back to the teachers, etc., etc. Or sometimes the feedback is so subtle that it is missed. And oftentimes the concerned individuals are not aware of the feedbacks and totally ignore them. So one strategy that is said to work is micromanagement. And micromanagement, I don't mean the principal going and sitting in the class and looking at children, but where teachers look out for subtle changes in student behavior, particularly after an inflection point, like a scolding or a rebuke or a praise, or behavioral changes in the absence of inflection points. Something may have happened at home or outside or with peers, and monitor them. Now, for this, heads of school might conduct feedback meetings, keep a track of such feedbacks from students and teachers, and take these feedback loops very seriously, because that is the only way these systems can be managed efficiently.
Yeah, and I think now the only kind of feedback the teacher is asked to look for is a feedback of the fact that people understand and no one is failing. The feedback that the teachers aren't looking for is the idea of like what's going to happen, or given an inflection point, what happens now, right? How is this going to impact the students? And I do think that it's both, right? The school system's role as well as the ability for teachers to be able to find these moments or be made to easily find these moments in their school.
I also
Yes.
think, Anushka, that, sorry, go on, Devashi.
No,
I
please,
thought
please,
you're quiet.
please,
No,
please
no,
carry on.
please.
No, no, no. It's Anurag. Please carry on.
No, I was only saying that, that matlab, not from an educated point of view, but from a simplistic, observant point of view, right? I think the system is actually very, very heterogeneous, right? From students to teachers to classrooms. And, between the first and second standard, there's so much of a difference, right? It's not like a linear difference between standard 1 and standard 2 or standard 5 and standard 8, right? But somehow the whole effort is to treat it like a very homogeneous system, right? Where everybody is dressed the same, everybody is kind of given the same assessment and same course and so on and so forth. And I think that's where the complexity fails, right? So I mean, inherently the idea of complexity is not bad, right? I mean, we know that complex systems are not necessarily bad by design, right? But I think when you have a conflicting goal, right, where something is inherently very, very heterogeneous and you're constantly trying to make it homogeneous, that you will always leave a large part of the population behind, right? Because that homogeneity is almost not possible, if you know what I mean.
No, see, it is a complex system. I mean, there's no two way about it. And when we try to create this homogeneity, we are trying to create a linear